Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful British Columbia, the capital city, Victoria, here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having an awesome week so far. I hope you're all staying healthy and you're being productive. Welcome to this class, everyone. In this class, we are looking at IELTS Speaking Part 2. This is the long part answer, the cue card where you have to speak for 2 minutes after looking at some questions. And we're going to focus on getting a band 9 with some super responses for today's question. This is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. Welcome, Mohammed. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Hi, Carolina. Welcome to our chat moderator. It's nice to see you. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Check us out there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have tons and tons of information to help you improve for your next IELTS exam. This is our academic IELTS website here. Let me just show this to you. Here we go. This blue background is what you're looking for when you're studying academic IELTS. You want to click that big red button up there to join our premium IELTS package, which includes 6 original practice exams, over 100 hours of HD video lessons, a fully interactive course, an app for your phone, and lots more. You get this My Student account. And here you will see all of this computer-based IELTS practice exam, the full IELTS course, and the rest of it. We will use this today for some student speaking as well in this class and in the next, because after this class we have speaking part 3 coming up. So we're going to use that student partner speaking function. Welcome Mahi, welcome Jania, welcome to our members. Hi Juliet, hi Alan Shearer, nice to see many students in the class already. That's fantastic. Okay, students, so again, for general IELTS, it's this page here at gieltshelp.com. It's the green background. Click this big red button to join our premium IELTS package. On both of these websites, academic and the general, it's a one-time payment for lifetime access, so it's really well worth it. We're continuing to give this discount. It's R4TYJ to get 20% off from the price. It's not expensive, so check it out. You can also access the website and the content through getting the app for your phone. You can search for Academic IELTS Help on your app store, or look for General IELTS Help. Download the app, install it. If you like it, upgrade to the full version and link it to the web account. So it's easy as that. You can also get free vocabulary and news from our Instagram profiles, IELTS_AE and GIELTS Help. For questions, if you're curious about some elements of English, like grammar, for instance, or if you're curious about IELTS or our products, just send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. That's my name, at aehelp.com. And again, students, we've got speaking part 2 right now, the cue card, and then speaking part 3 will be right after the part 2 class with a short 30-minute break. And then tomorrow and on Saturday, we've got more classes, so make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the channel. You can see the schedule always on our community posts. Let's get into IELTS Speaking Part 2. So yesterday we actually did Speaking Part 1, and that part of the speaking interview takes about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then the examiner will say, that is the end of part 1. Now we will continue with part 2. For this part, I'm going to show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to read these questions, think about your answers, and then you will have 2 minutes to speak. In the 1 minute, you can take notes. There's some note paper and a pen in front of you. And that's exactly how it goes. It's a mini presentation. So members, make sure that today you're speaking and you repeat. It's very important to practice. So don't just listen to me. Listening is good, but take it one step further and also copy what I say, copy the way I say it. It's excellent practice. All right, everybody. Here we go. Let's cover step number 1. So everybody, what is step number 1? Let me write it up here. So step number 1, and students still forget to do this. I was doing an interview with somebody just the other week, and they forgot to do this, and they spoke off topic, and I was like, geesh, good English, but not a good answer. So you have to be careful, because if you're speaking off topic, if you're speaking about another idea or a similar idea, but still not the right idea, you're going to get a bad score. You have to accurately answer the question, okay? So this first step is really important, and for some reason, students really easily forget this. I don't know why, but it's just, it seems to be an easy one to miss. Okay, so Arda says, read the questions, and Arda, check out what Bakrat is saying. Bakrat says, read the questions carefully twice. Yeah, so read the questions carefully and twice. Okay? It's so important. Even if you have great English, even if you have good reading skills, just read them twice. Really, really pay attention, because the more accurate your answer, the higher your band score. Okay? So twice, everyone, twice, especially this topic statement. Okay, so this topic says, talk about an object that you borrowed. One more time, talk about an object that you borrowed. If you start talking about an object that you lent to somebody, like I lent my car to my friend, you're going to get a very, very low score. If you talk about an object that your friend borrowed or that your brother borrowed, you're going to get a very, very low score. So you have to really, really pay attention to the key elements of these questions. Okay, and then what is this item? What did you use it for? When and who did you borrow it from? Notice the double question here. This is kind of a tricky one too, when one line has 2 questions. Okay, often students will miss one of these. So when and who did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it, and was it useful in the end? So again, you have a double question. Okay, so really pay attention to these double questions when they're in the same line. So you actually have 6 questions that you have to answer here. What did you use it for? When, who, why, and then was it useful? Okay, so you've got 6 points to focus on. All right, so the next step, everyone, and I'm going to move through these steps a little bit faster because I want to give chances to our viewers and everyone to practice this. So after you read the question carefully, step 2 is to identify the category and the tense of the cue card. Okay, and in this case, let me get this a little bit higher so you can see this, and you can write with me so you can give me these answers while I'm doing this. So in this situation, we're talking about an object, okay, and the tense that we're using is past, past perfect, present perfect, maybe some past continuous, So these are your target tenses for the grammar, right? Because you can see here that the question is saying, talk about an item that you borrowed. So past tense. Sometimes students ask me about this strategy of past, present, future. Like, hey, if I talk about this in the past, the present, and the future, will I get a great score? Not always. This question is focusing more on the past. So look at the topic sentence here, borrowed, and then even here later on you have was it useful. Obviously, was it is looking into the past. So 2 minutes when you're accurately speaking is not necessarily enough time to talk about everything from alpha to omega, meaning from the past to the future. So again, your answer, the more focused, the more accurate, the higher your band score, especially if you're going for those high bands like 7, 5 to 8. Bakrat says it's past simple, past perfect, present perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, everyone. So it's an object. So when we talk about an object, we want to talk about its appearance. So give the listener a bit of an idea of what this object looks like. It will make your speaking that much clearer, okay? Even if it's just a short, quick introduction of what it looks like, right? So I borrowed my friend's minivan. It's a red GMC, about 3 meters in length. It seats 7 people. Okay, so give it a little bit of appearance so we can picture it. And then its origin. So where did you get it from? Here, obviously, it's the person you borrowed it from. Okay, so talk about its origin. Talk about its function. So how do you use it? Why did you use it? And then talk about your experience and the value. Okay, so why is it valuable for you? And when you answer these questions for an object, you're basically answering all of the questions or most of the questions on the cue card. I mean, look at this, right? So you've got appearance, you've got origin, function, experience. If you think about it, what is this item is kind of the appearance, right? Like, what does it look like? What did you use it for is the function, right? When and who did you borrow it from? That's kind of its origin, like where did it come from, okay? And why did you decide to borrow it? That's kind of also its value and its experience, okay? So as long as you focus on these points for the object that's on the cue card, you're likely going to do quite a good job, right? All right, I can see that. Bakrat's on the ball today, answering nicely in parallel with me, which is great. Okay, so we've got the object, we've got the tense, and then we go to the next step. And the next step is a really, really important one, okay? And this is another step that students just sometimes seem to forget to do. And no matter how many times I remind students, it just seems like students tend to forget this crucial step. What is this step, everyone? So, Mohammed, Bakrat Arda, what's my step number 3? And this is a very important step when you are getting ready in your 1-minute preparation time. And students, these steps are fast, okay? So, step 1 and 2, reading the question, identifying the categories. That's just seconds. That's 10 seconds, 15 seconds, okay? Step number 3, you should spend about a good 10 seconds on it, okay? Maybe even 15 seconds. So let me kind of, I'll give you some time parameters while you're telling me this. So step 1 would be like, let's say 10 seconds, okay? Read the questions twice, all right? Step 2, that's very fast because if you practice, that's going to take you just 3 seconds. Okay, and then step 3, maybe another 10 seconds. So you still have about 37 seconds for step 4 and 5. Okay, so Jyoti says think about 2 to 3 items. Romaine, you're not jotting down notes just yet. Okay, so Romain, look at what Jyoti's saying, and look at what Bakrat and June are saying. They're saying come up with some ideas. Yeah, so it's kind of dangerous to go with the very first idea that you have, because it might be tricky to talk about. So it's really important that you come up with at least 2 ideas, but ideally 3 ideas. Okay, so think of 2 to 3, not 1, 2 to 3 possible ideas. Okay, pick the one that is original, easy to talk about, and lots of content. Okay, so you don't want to say like, I don't know, I borrowed my friend's phone. Yeah, okay, maybe every student is borrowing their friend's phone. So pick something that's a little bit original and that's easy to talk about and has lots of content. Think about common situations, right? So what are some items that we borrow from people? Okay, so give me some ideas here, members. What kind of items? So let's say you're in the hot seat. Okay, that's an expression in English. You're in the hot seat. It means that the focus is on you. Okay, and they're paying attention to you. So you're in the hot seat. You've got this 1 minute to prepare, and you went through the first couple of steps just fine. And now you're on this 3rd step, and you're brainstorming about 2 or 3 ideas. You've got 10 seconds. What are you borrowing? So Carolina says a ladder. It's great. That's a great idea, Carolina. A ladder. Okay, I like it. Yeah, I think a ladder is something that we often will borrow from people. Janelle says borrow LP. Do you mean like a laptop computer for a presentation? I think that might be a popular answer, Janelle, but I'll put it up here. Okay, I think we've already done laptop once in the past. Yeah, so laptop, you might borrow a computer for a presentation. Okay, Bakrat says shoes, jacket, motorbike. Okay, light and pen. Bakrat, maybe a motorbike could be possible. Okay. Jyoti says, why not a tool like a shovel? Yeah, so ladder, shovel, those kinds of tools. Flashlight, sure. All right, that could be one as well. All right, what else could we borrow? Think about what you have around the house. Think about those situations where we don't necessarily have that tool. Okay. Rahmani says, how about a digital camera? Mohammed says boxing gloves. Okay. Yeah, so Mohammed, that's very clever. Sports equipment is often something that will borrow from somebody, right? Like a football. Which of course is an American English or Canadian English soccer ball, right? Okay, or a screwdriver, absolutely. Okay, so those are good. Okay, think about gardening maybe for the shovel. Okay, think about maybe cleaning your roof or fixing the roof. For a ladder, right? So you have to think about the purpose of why you're borrowing this as well. All right, students, so I'm going to kind of reduce these to some good answers here, and then we'll pick one of these, okay? So I'll reduce the ones that I think are all possibly good answers, and then boxing gloves. I don't know if I'd borrow boxing gloves. It's kind of gross, but putting your hands in the boxing gloves of another person, but that's fine. Okay, so let's go with these 3. So ladder, flashlight, and football. One of those 3. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. And let's take some votes on it. So choose one of the 3 that you think you'd like to talk about today, that you'd like to borrow from someone else. And then the one that's the most popular answer, we'll go with that one for today. And we'll go to step number 4, which of course is useful notes. Okay. And your useful notes, you can take easily like, let's say, 25 seconds for that. Okay, it's lots of time as long as you know what you're doing. Okay. All right. Jainil says 3. Bandita says number 1. Carolina says number 1. Jyoti says number 1. So number 1 seems to be the most popular answer so far. Atharwa says, sir, I gave my speaking yesterday. It was awesome. Congrats, Atharwa. Atharwa, when you have your score, definitely share it with us and maybe some details of your experience. I'd love to hear it. Okay, so number 1 still seems to be the most popular. I like number 1 personally. I do think it's a very clever answer. A ladder is definitely it's probably one of the most borrowed objects worldwide if we took some statistics. So it's a clever one, and I don't think a lot of people would think about ladder for the IELTS. Okay, so useful notes. Let's talk about the ladder. I like it. Okay, so borrowing a ladder. Okay, watch the pronunciation on that. Make sure you can pronounce it. It's a ladder. So the appearance of the ladder. What does it look like? Okay, I'm going to start in, and then you give me some ideas. We'll combine our ideas. Okay, so this ladder is going to be a 3-meter folding aluminum ladder. Okay. Janelle, let's just stick with the ladder. A stool or a ladder, it's kind of the same concept. Yeah, a stool, but let's just stick with the ladder. Okay. Mal says made of wood or metal. Yeah, so Mal, I absolutely agree with you. You have to decide on one. I decided on metal, and in fact, more specifically on aluminum. So ladders are usually made of aluminum because it's lightweight, right? So probably only weighs about, say, like 8 kilograms. Okay, so that's the nice thing about, or maybe 10 kilograms if you want to keep it simple. So that's the nice thing about aluminum ladders is they're light. So Romaine says gray color, gray or metallic. Okay. All right. Janelle, we wouldn't say silver-plated aluminum. That's a bit awkward. It would be chrome if it's that kind of bright or shiny. Okay. Then it would be chrome. Okay. If it's 3 meters, probably has about, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 steps. Okay. They're actually called rungs. It's the rungs of the ladder. Okay. So that's where, you know, vocabulary can be a little bit tricky. If you said it as 8 to 10 steps, the examiner wouldn't dock you. But if you said rungs, then the examiner would be very impressed. They'd be like, wow, now that's lexical resource. You know the specific name of the steps of the ladder. It's rungs. Okay, good. So that's the appearance. All right, the origin. So where did you get it from? I mean, here you don't have to overthink it. Keep it simple. Like, where do we usually get a ladder from, right? So I would say neighbor. Okay, my neighbor Frank, 10 years. Maybe he's a carpenter. Okay. All right, so quick thinking, right? Who would likely have ladder and other tools? Somebody who works with their hands, maybe in industry, like somebody like a carpenter, right? Again, you're building your vocabulary. Your neighbor Frank, you've known him for 10 years, building up that grammatical range, right? I have known Frank for 10 years. He's a great guy. I needed this ladder, right? So, okay. All right, so yeah, and I can see a lot of people said neighbor. Yeah, of course, right? Oftentimes we'll get it from our neighbor. Now, this is the person of who we got it from, right? So at the same time, you also want to do the when, right? So when did I borrow it? Maybe in fall to clean my gutters, okay? So I'm going to kind of build this up, but don't worry, keep your ideas because you're going to have a chance to speak. So fall, clean gutters, leaves. The gutters, students, are those parts of the house on the roof that let the rainwater drain down. So those are called your gutters. It's on the roof and it helps the water to go off the roof into a specific direction. But if you don't know that, you could say something like roof as well, right? So the roof of your house, okay, for instance, okay? And maybe I collected apples. Okay, so maybe I have some apple trees and I collected some apples, or I have some kind of a fruit tree and I collected some fruits. Okay, sorry, I'm mixing function here, so this is bad. This should be function. Okay, the reason why is I'm jumping ahead here. So fall, end of September for a week. Okay. Mal says to fix the fan. Yeah, or maybe to change some light bulbs that are up very, very high. Okay. Romain said he had to dig it out of his attic, or he got it from his garage. Exactly, Romain. So that's good. Keep those in mind because I'm going to be calling some of you and we're going to actually do this in a little bit. Okay. All right. Very good. So it's for cleaning gutters from the roof, the leaves. Okay. All right. Be sure that you're able to separate the appearance, the origin, the function, and the value, right? So why was this valuable? Okay. Only once. So I only needed the ladder once, right? I don't need it all the time. Cheaper. Okay. Saves the roof. Okay. Keeps it clean. Also, I got some apples from my apple tree at the same time, so able to stay healthy. Make an apple pie. Okay, maybe give it to my neighbor. All right, so I'm just visualizing this, right? So what did I borrow? I borrowed a ladder. Why did I borrow this ladder? To clean my roof, my gutters, get some apples, and then what did I do with that? Maybe make some pie, or my wife made some pie. And I'm able to do that in 25 seconds. As long as I'm good at visualization, I'm able to do this in 25 seconds, okay? And then my next step, step 5, is to have my first sentence ready. So I can start right away, okay? So my first sentence here would be immediately answering the question, okay? Again, here's the cue card. Talk about an object that you borrowed. And then we've got all these questions. And again, I need to answer this question right away, okay? And hopefully I'm remembering words like lent, which is, you know, my neighbor Frank lent it to me. So that word should be in my head, okay? All right, so right away I have my first sentence. Last fall, I borrowed a ladder from my neighbor, Frank. Okay, just like that, make sure your first sentence is absolutely clean, clear, without mistakes, okay? Don't necessarily get too fancy in the first sentence because a lot of students are quite nervous for part 2 and it's easier to make mistakes at the beginning. So make sure that you just keep it clean and without mistakes, okay? All right, so here we go, members and students, okay? Rahmani says cutting some tree branches. Rahmani, if you're cutting tree branches, you're pruning, okay? You're pruning, okay? That's called pruning the trees. When you cut the branches, there's a special verb for that, okay? Mohammed says it could be to clean windows as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of different activities that we can do with ladders, absolutely. All right, so last fall I borrowed a ladder from my neighbor Frank. This was a 3-meter aluminum ladder, lightweight, about 10 kilos, with approximately 10 rungs, and just big enough for me to do some important cleaning and gardening. So notice how I'm starting like kind of general, and then I'm going to get more specific, right? So Janelle says, an object that I took from my neighbor Jay a week ago is a ladder. Okay, you didn't take it, Janelle, from Jay, you borrowed it. Use the actual verb of the question, Janelle, for your first 1 or 2 sentences, and then you can use some other verbs afterwards, okay? All right, meanwhile, Atharwa is sharing a bit of the experience of the exam. So Atharwa says, part 1 was subjects at college. Part 2 was favorite TV shows and, part 1 was college, favorite TV shows and headphones. Part 2 was a famous person that I know. And then part 3 was celebrities. Okay, thank you, Atharwa, for sharing that. It sounds like part 1 was quite the range of questions. So those were the questions, but they don't repeat. So students, don't be like, oh, okay, I'm going to study these because I'll get these. I thought it was really awesome for sharing these, but it's most likely that you're not going to get these kinds of questions on your next exam because they tend not to repeat them. So careful with that, okay? All right, so here we go again. So last fall, I borrowed a ladder from my neighbor, Frank. This was a 3-meter aluminum ladder, lightweight, about 10 kilos with approximately 10 rungs, and just big enough for me to do some important cleaning and gardening. Frank is my neighbor, and I have known him for over a decade. He has worked as a carpenter, so I know that he has lots of great tools, and he had no problem lending me his ladder for a week back at the end of last September. The reason I needed the ladder is because, or was because, my gutters were getting clogged from fallen debris, mostly leaves. So I had to clean these gutters to avoid damage to my property. Also, I have a large apple tree in my yard, so I needed the ladder to reach the higher branches and also to do a bit of pruning. Okay, so once I have all of the information, like once I have all of my notes, right, then it's just a matter of really going through these notes. And I've gone through these notes, I've gone through these notes, I'm going through these notes, and now I can go through these notes as well. Okay, so my first step is always to go through my notes before anything else. And once I've gone through my notes, that's when I check the questions, because my notes hopefully answer all the questions, but I want to always double check the questions. Okay? It was really great that Frank lent me his ladder because this saved me time and money not having to get one myself. These ladders are quite expensive, around $200, and I really only need it once or twice a year. In fact, to show my appreciation, I made some apple pies from the fruit which I collected, and I gave one to Frank when I returned his ladder. Okay. All right, so now at this point, I can take a look at the questions and make sure that I've answered all of this, okay? So what is this item? I answered that. What did I use it for? I answered that. When and who did I borrow it from? Really answered that. Why did I decide to borrow it, and was it useful? Yeah, I've answered that, and if I want to emphasize it, if the examiner is giving me some more time, then I can definitely add a kind of closing sentence. So this folding ladder was not only useful, but crucial in the end, because it helped to keep my house and garden in good shape and ready for the fall and winter seasons. Okay, so there we go. Now I've finished, and now the examiner will likely stop me. So when the examiner feels that you've answered the question accurately and you've answered all the questions on the cue card, there's a good chance that they will stop you. That's why they say that you will speak from 1 to 2 minutes. They stop you in the following cases: if you go off topic, if you're speaking about the wrong idea, if you keep repeating the same ideas, if you're completely stuck for ideas, or if you've answered all the questions, okay? So these are kind of the scenarios where the examiner stops you, okay? I'm going to write these down for you because I haven't really done that in the past. So examiners stop you when A, you go off topic, B, run out of ideas and stop speaking, C, repeat the same ideas. It's kind of the same as B, over and over, and D, which is the best scenario, of course, this is what you want, okay, you have answered all the questions well. Okay, so that's what you're focusing on. All right, everyone, so here we go. We're going to go over this. So I'm going to read the question again, and then I'm going to read the answer, and let's do this together. So here we go, everyone. The question is, talk about an object that you borrowed. What is this item? What did you use it for? When and who did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it, and was it useful in the end? You go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the examiner says, okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. Last fall, I borrowed a ladder from my neighbor Frank. This was a 3-meter aluminum ladder, lightweight, about 10 kilos, with approximately 10 rungs, and just big enough for me to do some important cleaning and gardening. Frank is my neighbor, and I've known him for over a decade. He has worked as a carpenter, so I know that he has lots of great tools, and he had no problem lending me his ladder for a week back at the end of last September. The reason I needed the ladder was because my gutters were getting clogged from fallen debris, mostly leaves, and so I had to clean these gutters to avoid damage to my property. Also, I have a large apple tree in my yard, so I needed the ladder to reach the higher branches and also to do a bit of pruning. It was really great that Frank lent me his ladder because this saved me time and money, not having to get one myself. His ladders are pretty expensive, around $200. And I really only needed it once or twice a year, or I only really need it once or twice a year. In fact, to show my appreciation, I made some apple pies. Made I could probably replace with baked. Some apple pies from the fruit, which I collected, and I gave one to Frank when I returned the ladder. The folding ladder was not only useful but crucial in the end because it helped to keep my house and garden in good shape and ready for fall and winter. And then the examiner will say, okay, that your time is up. Now we'll go to part 3. Okay, and that's how it works, everyone. So that is how you answer. All right. I hope everybody was following and repeating, because now, members, guess what? You have a chance to do this part 3 with me. Dun dun dun. So let's go to our website, members, and I think all of our members, or most of our members, know how to do this now. What we're going to do is you're going to do this part 2, okay? And first, let's try it just with the ladder before you come up with a different idea, okay? So here we go. Let's go to the website. Let's go to aehelp.com because I'm already logged into my student account here. And then right above my head, I have the student partner speaking. Okay, so let's go to the student partner speaking. And hopefully I'll get a volunteer today to practice this speaking part 2 with me. Okay. Romain, the expression at the end of the day, it's considered good English, right? It's not necessarily high level, but it's good English. You don't have to really be super fancy, Romain, to get a band 9. You just have to use a broad range of vocabulary, so lots of different kinds of words. Okay, so I want to give our members the chance first to practice this part 2. So Jyoti, Mal, Bakrat, Romain, Carolina, Atharwa, I'm looking for you in the chat here. Please send me, there's June as well, so please send me a message saying that you'd like to practice this part 2, and then I'll give you a chance to practice it as well and kind of come up with your own version of the answer. So June, I see you in here, and I know you were in the class as well. Okay, and you can write it in the chat too, members, if you want to volunteer here with me. Okay, I see there are some students, okay, in here. So let me know. Be brave, okay? This is a great way to improve for your IELTS exam. And whoever volunteers, I will give you feedback on your score estimate, and I'll give you some feedback on what you can do to have a better part 2 answer, okay? So we have Bandita, we have Abdul Rahman. Okay, there's June. So let's see, I think June might want to volunteer here. June's one of our longtime members. Yeah, and June says, I'd like to talk about another object. If I can, sure, June, that's okay. Okay, so sure, let's start. All right. Okay, so I'm going to call June. June says I want to talk about a different object. All right, June, I like your courage and ambition. So here we go.
Hey, morning, Adrian. Can you hear me right now?
I can absolutely hear you nice and loud and clearly, June. That's awesome.
Okay, awesome.
And good morning to you as well. I think you're at around 7:15, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay. June is 1 hour away from my time zone in Calgary,
Yeah.
I believe. Okay, June. Yeah, you can practice with a different object, absolutely. I'll just read the questions. When I finish reading the questions, I'll just say your 1 minute preparation time is up, and then you can
Okay.
start, okay? So
Yep.
let me hop back to the questions here. Okay. So talk about an object that you borrowed. What is this item? What did you use it for? When and who did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it? And was it useful in the end? Okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay. It was 10 years ago that I borrowed a textbook named Basic College Mathematics from my maths teacher. At that time, I was in grade 12 and preparing for the International Mathematical Olympiad, a contest that could help some high school students get admitted to some of the top universities in China. In fact, this exam was rather demanding because it included some questions that required certain knowledge in college math, which I hadn't learned yet. So I asked my math teacher, Mr. Lee, for help, and he lent this textbook to me and told me that it covered most of the difficult questions the context would have. Well, that was actually quite a thick book with nearly 1,000 pages, looking a bit intimidating the moment I received it from Mr. Lee. However, the content was not that challenging, and very soon I got the hang of it, and I was able to solve the problems in calculus and statistics, which were definitely beyond my abilities before I cracked this book. I spent about a month and a half carefully reading this book and then took the international competition. As a result, I passed the exam with flying colors, ranking top 2% among all the candidates and won the admission to Peking University.
Okay, June, I will stop you there. Your time is up.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I forgot to say that the fifth scenario where they will stop you is when your time is up. So they will stop you at 2 minutes. Okay. So that's
All right.
E. Your 2 minutes is up. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why it's important to answer all the questions within the 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And I was looking at the clock, and that was 2 minutes. Okay, June, that was really good. So, June, you would easily get a band 8 for that response. I would even probably score you at a band 8.5, other than a couple of very subtle mistakes that were unnatural. Like you said at the beginning, it was 10 years ago you borrowed this book named Basic College Mathematics. Books, we don't say they're named Basic College Mathematics. Do you know what the correct word is instead of named?
Titled?
That's right. Yeah, titled. Yeah. So the correct verb is titled. So when you make okay, when you say named, right? I understand it. It's not like I'm confused. I get what you're saying, but it's not the accurate verb, right? So the accurate word would be titled. And when you make those kind of one or two mistakes like that, the examiner won't be able to give you a band 9. But all of the other vocabulary that you used, all of the other grammar. You had lots of really nice expressions, like I passed the exam with flying colors. Okay, let me teach this to the rest of our viewers. June said, I passed with flying colors. To do something with flying colors means to do an excellent job or to do an outstanding job. Okay. And so you used a lot of vocabulary like that, and that was very clear for me that you're clearly a band 8.59 in that range. So it's really just those kind of small little nuances that you have to fix. But June, that will happen. I mean, you interact with English on a daily basis, and that will happen, right? I mean, that's not something to worry about. At your level, it's more important to just keep focusing on great communication, and the other pieces will fall into place over time. So may I ask, did you prepare for that answer? Did you just random or spontaneously come up with it?
Write down few notes. Yeah, I thought about it. Yeah, like for a little bit. Yeah.
Just during this class or before the class you prepared?
Or kind of 10 minutes before the class, I thought a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, good for you.
Probably
I mean,
more than 1 minute.
okay, I mean, that's how you should do it when you're practicing, right? That's at home. That's exactly how you train your brain to become competent and quick at doing this, right? So that's why it's so dangerous for someone to just walk into the IELTS exam without any preparation, because this part two is very tricky if you don't prepare for it, like what you're doing. So it's very clever. Yeah, so thank you so much, June, for sharing that response with us. I thought it was a fantastic response. And I really like how I was a little bit worried that you were going to go off topic and talk more about the competition and mathematics, but you actually did a very good job of coming back to the book, telling me that it has 1,000 pages, telling me that there were some valuable questions there for the competition. And so it was very good that you came back to the object, because that's so important, right? So that was really good. Okay, thank you so much, June. Keep it going, and we'll talk to you later. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, June. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was June, everyone. Give June an applause. I think he did a fantastic job there. And we'll take another volunteer. So I'm looking for members right now, because this is a members chat class, everyone. If you want to become a member of our channel, click the join button beside the subscribe button. So I can see that Bakrat wants to volunteer. Carolina said, excellent. Atharwa, good luck on your listening, reading, writing tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for the applauses, everyone. Okay. So let me see if I can see Bakrat in here anywhere. Okay, there's Bakrat. Okay, Bakrat, so I'll give you a chance here. Just let me reach out to you. Okay, so Bakrat says, I want to volunteer. Okay, Bakrat, are you ready? And Bakrat, you can go with either the latter that we just covered in the class, or if you really want, like June, you can come up with your own topic if you prepared for it. Okay, Dakwal Valan says, I want to speak as well. Dakwal, I'm not sure if you're in here. I didn't really see you in here. Okay. Bakrat says he's definitely ready. So I'm reaching out to Bakrat. Okay, Bakrat, here we go.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Bakrat. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. Okay, Bakrat. So same idea, okay, as with June.
Yeah.
Are you planning to talk about borrowing a ladder, or are you going to go on with a different topic?
So I'm going to talk about same.
The ladder.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's great. I think that's really clever to do it first with with a practice topic, and then try something different, right? Okay, so I'm going to read the question again, and then I'll let you know that your 1 minute preparation time is up, and then you can start speaking. Okay, so just give me one moment here. All right, so I'll go through the questions one more time. Here we go. So talk about an object that you borrowed. What is this item? What did you use it for? When and who did you borrow it from? Why did you decide to borrow it? And was it useful in the end? Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay. An object that I borrowed from my neighbor Mark is a ladder. Last weekend, noon for 1 hour to change the light bulb in my storeroom. It's made up of iron rod, black in color, and it has 10 to 5 lungs with 5 kg weight. Mark and his family living here since last 3 years. We have great bond. We have great bond to sharing items each other. He has 12 months experience as carpenter. He work out of town as well. I landed for 1 hour because my rest room electricity cut off. I have to replace defective light bulb at the top of corner of the wall to clean the restroom. I borrowed ladder because it costs around $100, and I need it for only at least 60 minutes. Uh, he was very kind and helped me out to change it bulb light. I took it back after complete my work, and it was great company with Mark. I'm thankful for him to save my time and money.
Okay, and your 2 minutes is up, and I'll stop you there, Bakrat. I'll take back the questions. Please put the note paper and the pen to the side. And now we will continue with part 3. For this part, I will ask you a question or two related to the topic of part 2 and some questions on this topic. Okay, so Bakrat, that was really good. All right, so I would easily give you a band 6 to 6.5 for that response. So your answer was quite good. The reason why I would give you a band 6.5 even is because you answered all the questions and it was coherent for the most part. About 10% of what you said I had to really kind of focus to try to figure out exactly what you're trying to tell me. There was a little bit of repetition in what you were saying, like you repeated the fact that you borrowed it for 1 hour.
I also thought that I'm also repeating myself.
Yeah, you felt that there were some parts that you were repeating, right? Like borrowing it for 1 hour, borrowing it for 1 hour, borrowing it for 60 minutes. So yeah, you want to kind of avoid that repetition. There was, you used pretty good vocabulary. Of course, there's always, better words for certain situations. Like you said, I had to replace a defective light bulb. I'm guessing you had to replace a burnt out light bulb. So light bulbs burn out when they stop working usually. You could say defective because there are defective light bulbs, but most of the time we're replacing burnt out light bulbs. So defective is okay though. So that was all right. I think you spent a little bit too much time talking about Mark. Maybe just a little bit less. So he's been my neighbor for the past 5 years. He's a great guy. And then that's enough. Focus more on the light bulb, right? So why was it useful? You could have said something like, there was no way. So there was no way I could have reached this light bulb without the ladder safely. Okay, for instance, and then once I replaced the bulb, I finally had good light in my living room. Okay, for instance, right? So that's why it was valuable for you. Okay, so think about the questions, right? Why was it good? Why was it useful? Well, of course, when you replace a light bulb, you can see again and you can have that bright room again. So that's why it's useful, right? Sometimes people will stand up on chairs and tables to change their light bulbs, and it's quite dangerous. So it's much safer to use the ladder. So that's another point that you can think of. But I think overall you did a fairly good job. What's important, Bakrat, is that you keep speaking lots so that you can build up your fluency. Because I think had you said the same information, but like 20% faster, you could have even gotten a band 7. Okay? So you don't need to speak really fast, but you do need to speak a little bit faster to sound natural. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right, Bakrat, thank you so much for answering. I like how you used ladder, which we were talking about, but you took a different approach and you talked about how you needed it to change a light bulb, which is great, right? So take it and change it a bit. That was really, really good. Okay, Bakrat, hopefully I'll see you in the next class as well. That's coming up.
Thank you for allowing me to answer this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Bakrat, keep volunteering. It's fantastic. Keep practicing, okay? All right, thank you so much. Everybody, please give Bakrat an applause or a thumbs up, and keep going, Bakrat. That was really good. You're improving for sure. Okay? All right, thanks, Bakrat. Okay, so that was Bakrat. All right, everybody. So that's part 2, and I'm going to stop there for now. But don't worry, because I'm coming back in 30 minutes, and I will be back with speaking part 3, which will follow this part 2 cue card. And Deval Valand, I see that you want to speak, so make sure you register an account on our website, and then you'll be able to volunteer for the speaking for the next class, because we're going to be taking volunteers. And the way to do that, everybody, is to go to our website, aehelp.com, that looks like this, and you can click that big red button to join our premium package. Mahi, thank you for your super chat donation. I see that. That's really awesome. Okay. All right, Mahi, thank you. And I see your comment as well, so I appreciate that. Okay, everyone, so join us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Click that big red button. It's definitely worth it. Or general IELTS. It's the screen background. Click the big red button, and I'll be back in 30 minutes with speaking part 3. Thank you, Carolina, for moderating the chat. Thank you, members, for your support. Thank you, everybody in the general IELTS. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now, but I will be back in 30 minutes very soon with part 3. Bye, everyone.